Mr. Brown, please.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Bon matin, Monsieur le Président, honorable senators, and members of the viewing public. Thank you for the invitation to speak today. I'd like to start off by acknowledging the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people, where we have the privilege of gathering today. My name is Adam Brown. I'm the chair of the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations, or CASA. I'm also the vice president external of the University of Alberta Students' Union in Edmonton, and a fifth-year student completing a Bachelor's of Commerce. CASA is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit organization that represents students at colleges, universities, and polytechnics across the country. With our formal partnership with the Union Étudiante Québec, we represent a total of 360,000 students from coast to coast and are a trusted national student voice. We advocate for a post-secondary system that is accessible, affordable, innovative, and of the highest quality. I am grateful to appear before the committee this morning to discuss Bill C-97, Budget Implementation Act Number 1. This morning, I'll be speaking directly to Part 4, Division 22 of the Act, which refers directly to the Canada Student Loans Act and the Canada Student Financial Assistance Act and the proposals within. The proposed amendment to the Act will provide a 6-month interest-free grace period for students who have just completed their studies. This would provide new graduates with much-needed time to find sustainable employment before having to begin repaying their student loans. The research suggests that the proposed amendment will save the average student loan borrower about $2,000 over the course of their repayment period and help roughly 200,000 students. CASA is always in favor of changes that support the affordability of post-secondary education. This act also proposes to lower interest rates for student loan borrowers from prime plus 2.5% to simply prime. Currently, the average student can expect to pay an additional $9,347 in interest over the course of the average repayment period, which is 9.5 years. Many students extend that repayment period, and those who do can expect to pay up to $14,091 in interest. This is no small sum, particularly for students transitioning into their post-study careers. Delaying repayment and thereby reducing interest rates and initial financial pressure for new graduates is a welcome proposal. However, we would argue that the government should go further. The average $30 a month in savings that graduates will gain from this measure will undoubtedly help to reduce student debt, but will not make the difference between someone choosing to go to school or not, to make rent or not, paying for childcare or not. If these loans were interest-free, the average post-secondary graduate would save approximately $130 a month. This could make a substantial difference in the lives of both students and graduates who are struggling financially, and this is the path we would like to see the government take. Education and access to it creates a more equal and equitable society. CASA believes that students should not accumulate an unreasonable or unsupportable amount of debt in pursuit of that education. We know that some prospective students hesitate when faced with the prospect of accruing large amounts of debt for their education, and that others abandon the idea altogether. This hesitation is disproportionately seen among marginalized communities, especially working class, disabled, racialized, Indigenous, and LGBTQ2+ individuals. These people encounter the most barriers in accessing post-secondary education. And to address this accessibility challenge, CASA suggests to advocate for increased upfront non-repayable grants. Evidence suggests this is the best way to ensure that the highest number of diverse students can access a quality post-secondary education here in Canada. I'm hesitant to sit before you and suggest that we need more, seeing that students have received many important investments as of late. While we are grateful, we know that there are areas where Canada is still lacking. According to a 2017 report released by Statistics Canada, over 50% of youth in the lowest income bracket choose not to pursue post-secondary education directly after high school. We can safely assume that financial barriers are a large contributing factor to this decision. This is why CASA has and will continue to advocate for change. I'm thankful to be here representing students at a time where there is the threat to student organizing, especially here in Ontario. When students are unable to speak for themselves, it jeopardizes representation, accountability, and democracy. Everyone suffers, especially post-secondary institutions. I'm hopeful that in the future, students will continue to have opportunities like this one to share their struggles on the ground and suggest practical solutions to address them. Engaged student representation is an integral part of keeping post-secondary schools across Canada adaptive and accountable to student needs. I'd like to thank you again for the invitation and your time, and I look forward to answering your questions.